Hello YouTube, welcome back. This is Android Mafia. We're taking a look today at the Zenith Flare deck. You can see that I'm still running a companion for it, the Loris of the Dream Den, mostly because it's an extra card. You don't have a reason not to. This particular version already meets the companion condition of each permanent card having a converted mana cost 2 or less. I've tried other builds for the deck that sometimes rely on things like Reptilian Reflection. Most of them are not as effective or efficient as this version. So we go ahead and leave Loris in. There have been a few games where he's been helpful. It's not always the case, but it is one extra thing for your opponent to play around, and it doesn't hurt your deck to run it. A couple of things I want to note. This build is not new. This is not something that it should be too surprising if you're familiar with the current metagame. However, there are just small details, the main one being that I am not running any non-basic lands in this deck, partly because, as you can see here, I only have a single Sacred Foundry. And while it might be fine to throw that in there, I thought keeping this as budget as possible would be really nice. Doing it this way is really friendly for all users because the only rare is the Loris, and he's not really necessary, just kind of gives you a couple of games where you can kind of go over the top. So I would suggest, if you are a more casual player looking for something kind of easy to build, if I look at my wildcards right now, you can see I've burned most of my mythics and rares, but I have a ton of commons and uncommons, so this would be an easy deck to just throw together if you have a bunch of spare wildcards. So if you want something fast, easy, and fun to mostly play, I think generally speaking this deck is a good place for you to be right now. My tentative statement here is this deck is better than expected right now in the meta. However, there are a lot of very aggressive decks, and we ran into a couple of things like Scavenging Ooze that can cause some real problems for us. But our traditional goal here, our main 2-win conditions, if you're not familiar with the deck, of course, are going to be Flourishing Fox. You really hope to get one of these on turn 1, and then you just go ham with cycling for a few turns, get some solid chunks of damage in, and finish them off with a big Zenith Flare, which deals damage based on the number of cycling cards in your graveyard. In the event that those 2 cards are not good enough, there are a few other routes to win. Some games you'll aggro out with Valiant Rescuer by generating a token every turn. And by every turn, I mean every turn. So your turn and their turn. So sometimes you'll stagger your cycling so that you can make sure you take advantage of this. Some games, they tend to lose out. If I go turn 1 Fox, make it a 3/3 on turn 2. Turn 3, I can play a Rescuer, make an extra body. And now I'm attacking with a 4/4 with extra bodies on board. If the deck's not running massive board wipes like Shatter the Sky or Storm's Wrath or Extinction Event, then you pretty much can just out-aggro some of these like slower, dirtly decks, especially the Growth Spiral decks if they're not landing those board wipes. And then Drain a Stinger, especially against the more controlling decks, they often don't want to burn a Shatter the Sky on a single creature, but sometimes they have to. There are some games where I win just because I ping them to death instead of anything else. Go for Blood is a card that I cast more often than expected. There are some games where you make a large Flourishing Fox, and they put down 1 blocker, you go for Blood, kill their blocker, attack through for more damage. Some of the cards obviously are not going to be cast. There's no way to cast Memory Leak or these 2 blue spells. I know some builds tried Jeskai where they actually are able to cast a late game Boon of the Wishgiver, which can be pretty powerful. But I don't think skewing the mana base, especially since I'm running basic lands, is worth trying to play that card. Some of those decks also run Ominous Seas. I think Ominous Seas is still a little bit too slow in a format full of Tefris and things of that nature. There's also main deck Gem Razors a lot of the time. So there are definitely ways that people can deal with an Ominous Seas pretty easily. In fact, the Kraken token's not even all that terrifying when you're looking at a field with Brazen Borrowers. I've even run into decks that are just running main deck Unsummon. So keep that in mind when you're playing this. Lastly, the only one I haven't really mentioned that is majorly useful is the Footfall Crater. In a few rare cases, this was better before the old, or when the old companion rule still existed. Footfall Crater is a way to push damage through against the decks that don't put a lot of creatures on board. If you do find yourself in a tight position where you're not really getting a lot going, your opponent's nowhere close to dying, or they're on their last 3 life and you top deck a Valiant Rescuer, a Crater can actually let you just attack with the Rescuer. It used to be that once you got to 5 mana, you could cast Loris, bring a Crater back from the graveyard, and then give the Loris haste and attack in with 3 lifelinking damage there, which is a swing of 6 health, which is actually pretty big. But that's not really a common play that I get to make anymore. Otherwise, again, this is not a new build. There's no new secret tech here. In fact, there's nothing in here that was impacted by Core Set 2021, which is part of why I decided to make these following videos, actually. We'll have several in this series, just testing where this deck is placed right now in the meta. My biggest fear, again, are things like Scavenging Ooze, or in the rare fringe cases, things like Ashiok that can exile the graveyard. I know I used to see some main deck Lanterns that could exile graveyards. So there are cards that can really get us, but a lot of those cards also only shut off the Zenith Flare itself. So while that sounds like I'm saying something ridiculous, the Zenith Flare doesn't always win the game for me. In fact, sometimes I cast Zenith Flare as just a removal spell to let a big fox actually deal all the damage. So I hope you enjoy the games. It's going to be a multi-video series. I'm looking at 3 or 4 videos probably in the sequence. I think this is actually pretty well situated right now in the format. Let's get a few matches of Flare, and I haven't played much Zenith Flare since Core Set hit. There are a lot of decks that are doing things with Ugins now. They're growth spiral decks basically, and they just Ugin. Snap Keep. Turn 1 Fox with 2 lands and cycling spells is like a guarantee. You just take it. It can attack through an Arboreal Grazer, and that's something. Now this is interesting. So seeing red and blue together at the start. Here's hoping they don't have bounce spells. Of course, traditional strategy, always make sure to cycle your blue and black spells first if you can. We did hit the 3rd land drop, which was really nice here. Depending on what they decide to do. Okay. Alright. When you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +1/+0 until the end of turn, then scry. I think if they had... I actually like Go for Blood as casting here. I want to push as much damage through as I can right away, because then my flares are more alive, and then they have to keep mana up for counterspells. This feels fine. It's a little aggressive, I know, but I think that was okay. They conceded to that. Yeah. All right. There we go. So what do we think? Just one game against a random deck that we've never seen before, or are we okay to say that cycling is fine? Is that good enough? That was a pretty fast game. It turns out that a 1-mana 4/4 is pretty solid on turn 1. Nagi. I don't know. Ooh. All right, look, here's the deal. I'm going first, and I get to cycle 3 cards in the first 2 turns. It's not a Fox hand, so if they do degenerate stuff with like a growth spiral into some things, I'm done. I actually like the white Fox thing here when I'm playing cycling. All right, I'm gonna play a mountain, and they'll maybe know what we're doing, maybe not. They might think that we're a sacrifice deck. Oh, look at that breeding pool. You know what that is? That's a growth spiral deck. You know how many of those there are? 473 and counting. By 473, I mean 473%. The meta is 473% growth spiral decks. And of course I draw the planes after, like, the Fox is probably already too slow here. I sort of want to play it and still try to get some aggro in. Let's see what happens if we do. They probably growth spiral, right? Did they just have Uro the next turn, and they just figured that was good enough? There he is. Bad boy walking. All right. So far they're on 2 colors. So I know I'm not going to get Storm's Wrath this turn. So I need as much aggro as I can. That's pretty much where I'm at right now. Playing the Rescuer was better than playing than cycling something. I goofed up. It's not the first time that you do it after he's on the board. All right, so I lost a token basically. So if they have like a Nissa here, yep, of course they do. They attacked with it? Okay. I'm so close to killing them. We're gonna gamble. We're gonna hope that they are not able to gain enough life here, and that they don't have counter spells. Although as many cycling cards as I'm drawing, I almost killed them this turn. Oh my god. I don't care about Nissa here. They're at 1. They have to get Stinger off the board, or if I cycle, they die. Like, or they can play Uro, maybe? They're close. Well, I guess they could have another Uro in hand. Okay. I'm really happy to see Solemn Simulacrum being played, by the way, guys. I really love that card. It's a card that I've played in way too many formats. So are they just hoping I don't have the Cycler, or do they have a way to... Okay, they'll be able to get Uro back, but I've got the Zenith Flare when they tap out, so that's it. Free damage is always nice, right? Haha! Aha! We gotta win! Oh god. Guys, when I lose this game, and I don't say if, I say when, just remind me that I knew I was going to lose when I kept this one land hand. Oh, am I going to see a Gruul aggro deck? I hope so. Okay, we did get another land. Already paying off, right? If it's Gruul aggro, we're in bad shape, but it might just be another Growth Spiral deck. Interesting. I don't know this deck. Are they going to kill the Fox? They are. I've never even seen somebody play Bonder's Enclave in a deck like this, so let's go ahead and see if they'll play reactively. We'll go ahead and play another creature. I should probably draw for a land here, but I'm going to get a couple of draw potentials on my next turn. Okay. Are they just trying to speed up time here, or do they have another Bone Crusher to just go ahead and pass through the turn? Okay, so this isn't really how we wanted to draw this up, but let's just keep it going. What is going on? A questing beast? Ugh. Well. I'll take the 4 for now. That's... Ugh. This is really, really inefficient Magic play here, boys and girls. We're gonna go ahead and main phase cycle to try to get our 4th land drop, by the way, and we didn't. All right. Well, it was fun while it lasted. If they play another questing beast, I'm gonna cry. I might genuinely just sob. Oh, okay, it's not a questing beast. It's almost as bad, but it's not a questing beast. Really could use a land. Hey, there's a land. All right, the question with decks like this are like, when do you take the hits and when do you just accept the fact that you're dead? Like, it's hard to decide whether to send a flare like at a Harbinger or to send it at their face. We know they've got a couple of these Bone Crushers, but they can only play one a turn right now. So like this turn, I only know 4 damage. The following turn, I'll take 8. And then I'm risking lethal. So I think here I actually cycle a couple of times. And then I flare them to stay in the game, most likely. In a perfect world, I see like just straight 1 mana cycling cards in response here. That's not a 1 mana cycling card, but it's a thing. Our flare count is going up pretty high though, so that's pretty nice. Perfect. Okay, so they just need to not gain life. Oh, triple flare. Okay. Okay. All right. That's bad for me, but what is that? A dragon? Ooh, oh, okay. I like this deck they're playing. I don't ever want to lose to it, but I like the deck. Like, yeah, we'll just pass turn, we'll hit them for 10, untap, hit them for 10. Because that's how we play Zenith Flare decks. Let's just go ahead and do this, see if they have anything. Maybe there's an instant speed spell that gives them hexproof, but I don't know of it. I really like Garrick's Harbinger, by the way. It's a really fun new card. Yep. So whenever another creature comes into play under their control, it can deal damage based on its power to any target. I drew all 4 Zenith Flares. Are you kidding me? Did we see that? All 4 Zenith Flares? The game was like, well, it's already done, so here, just take more. All right, we'll go till we lose one, and then we'll open up that pack, and then we're going to call it a night. So this might be it, just because I said that, but we'll see. I wish one of these flares was not a flare, honestly. But I'm gonna I can't pass this hand up. If it flops, oh well. It was, I think, good enough to keep. Okay, so step 1. It's gonna cycle 1 Go for Blood and see if we get a better thing to cycle. Okay, well. I actually think it's better to cycle the Stinger here, because I see a black land. That means that they are either going to have removal or they're going to have bodies. And so I can go for Blood, the body, to get damage through if I have to. It's not my preference, but... there goes a Zenith Flare. Maybe. He might actually want to go for Blood. Okay. Ooh, that's not something I want to see, though, for sure. All right, we're going to play this. We're just going to pressure them as much as possible. If they have more removal, if they had, for like the hand, if they had to tap out to mess with my hand, I'm representing almost lethal this turn, so like they do have to think about what they're going to do. Okay, yeah, they do have to actually interact with killing. But they took 2 life to do that. Okay, just straight concede. I was going to say, if they had a way to strip the flare, then they have to tap out. They take 2 from combat next turn, and at least 2 from cycling. Yeah. Okay, so... it turns out Flourishing Fox is still a good magic card, and Zenith Flare is still a good magic card. I said I'd go until we lose, so let's do it again. was a very quick game of Magic. When your opponent knows what's in your hand, it's easy for them to decide whether or not they have a chance. I cannot keep this one, I don't think. There's temptation, but... Oh my god, guys, you see this? Alright, we put one land away and we put the Rescuer. Actually... Yeah, we'll do this. Oh no. Okay, well. Alright. We are probably going to lose just based on the lack of resources just now. Anytime I'm mold a 5, I tend to lose. Ah. I thought about blocking there, and maybe blocking was correct. If the Fox gets a little bit of damage in, I'm not actually upset about the Priest killing it. I'm more upset if they play an Oven in the next turn or two. Okay, so they're probably... Well, I don't know. Huh. I'm going to cast a Stinger. What I'm playing around here is a Grasp of Darkness. I didn't want them to kill it in response to me pumping the Fox. So I want another body on the board just in case. They grasp at the end of the turn, so they don't. I don't know if they actually are running it in these decks, but ooh, Woe Strider's a pain in the butt. Let's now sack the cat and the goat to the priest. Yeah, now if they have it, nope, another priest. Okay. Just gonna play the healer as another way for the... If he makes me sack a creature, I can just sack the healer. I'm probably supposed to push the cycling agenda a little bit more, but his life total is a little low. Yeah, that's really bad for me. He's gonna wipe my board this turn. If he does it right, he'll wipe my board. He should ping the healer twice and then make me sack the Fox. Yep. Missing the 4th land drop was really bad here too, just in general. But... all right. Let's see. How many cards are in my graveyard? 6. We'll cast a Stinger just to push a couple points of damage through. Partly also there's a chance that depending on how he plays things, I could maybe get a chump block. Nope, not gonna happen. So he'll probably sack the Strider and the Goat to kill, or to deal 2 damage to me actually, make me sack the Stinger. But I'm just trying to push the extra points of damage through. I should have cycled the healer first actually, but... He's at 9. He's going to 10 now. I'm at 2. I have to play the healer here as a way to gain life, actually. All right, let's see. Technically, the best play I have is to fight the priest, chump the Mayhem Devil, and take 1 from the Cauldron Familiar. Like, I think that's the only out that I have. But he's got a full hand of cards. There's no way he doesn't have some way to kill me. Ooh, another Mayhem Devil. Okay. I have to block. Ah, man. What a jerk. One of my biggest pet peeves as a Magic player is when your opponent has a guaranteed kill condition and they just don't do it. Like, I would have... Again, I had a game earlier today where I didn't see the win, so maybe for some reason he didn't realize it. But if he had a hardcore definitive, this is the way to do it, don't give me a chance to think that I have it. Because if he had nothing else there, if I untap and this top card ends up being a Zenith Flare, then there's a chance that I just win, because that put me at enough cards in the graveyard to kill him. So I think play the Mayhem Devil and then sack the thing and deal the 2 damage to kill me. Like, going through combat was pointless there, in my opinion. It's just wasting more of his time and more of my time. Let's open this pack, though. Let's see how it goes, what it looks like. All right, a whole bunch of cards that I already have at least one of, and a very powerful green card. So Prey Upon is a card that has seen play. It's a 1 mana green spell that says your creature fights their creature. This is just better. You can give a creature +X/+X until the end of turn and then do the same thing if you have extra mana to spare. So not only can your creature fight theirs for 1 green mana, if you have any extra mana to dump into it, you can make that creature bigger. So this spell is phenomenal. Like, Primal Might is a powerful spell. I'm really happy to get one. We ended up going, what, 4 wins and 1 loss with cycling? So, still a pretty solid deck. I only saw a handful of matches, so obviously, in the long run, maybe it pans out differently. So I'm not going to sit here and say that it's definitely still viable. But at the same time, a lot of the decks out there right now are all about either doing their own crazy shenanigans really quickly and killing you, or it's the growth spiral decks that are going big and then going home. So you can kind of get in under them. You're not interacting with them much. And some of their cards end up being pretty dead because you don't care about the decks that growth spiral into a board wipe, because your Fox has already gotten 2 turns to attack and deal 7 damage. I think the cycling deck is still probably pretty okay. I don't know if it's tier 1, but it's probably still competitive. But that's my initial opinion based on this and a few other games I played a couple days ago. So we'll see. The format's going to change and develop a lot over the coming months. But thank you guys for hanging out.